Right, it's a story we've been following here on CBS News Detroit. General Motors is on track for record earnings this year.
The automaker reported stronger than expected third quarter earnings with $3.4 billion in profit. Revenue was up more than 10% to almost $49 billion. Here to talk about it is Paul Eisenstein, editor of Headlight.News. How you doing, Paul?
Good to be with you.
Good to have you. So what's going on with GM? It seems like many other automakers are really struggling right now, and this is all even despite the strike, the historic strike last year. So how'd they pull this off?
Yeah, this is pretty nice when you look at the numbers. There's no question about it. $3.1 billion in net income, $48.8 billion in revenues. They were up in virtually every category. They out-delivered what Wall Street was expecting. And as you mentioned before, they're on track to go to record numbers for the full year. They upped the forecast for 2024 as a whole. I think it's the second time in the last few months. So these are good numbers. Interestingly enough, one of the factors that seems to be playing out well for them, ready for this? EVs. I know we've been talking about the downside of EVs a lot in recent months, but GM is starting to increase volumes. And well, when you increase volumes, you start to improve productivity and profitability.
So how is that translating to consumers? Because they're producing more, is that adding now to how many people are able to buy them because the prices are going down? Or what are the other factors that are driving up those prices?
One of the good things that we should mention is that they announced today the new base model of the Equinox EV. When you factor in the $7,500 in federal tax credits that you'll qualify for, the starting price is somewhere around $26,000. Of course, then you have to add in delivery fees. But the fact is, they now have a very reasonably priced EV, the Equinox EV, 26,000 bucks, out the door essentially. And this is something that really is going to impress people. For that money, you'll be able to get 319 miles of range, which is the type of number that you usually have to pay $35, $40, even $50,000 for. So that should help drive EV sales for GM up even more than we saw in the last quarter.
All right, so it wasn't all so rosy, though. They have this joint venture in China that actually lost quite a bit of money. What's going on there?
Yeah, China's been a real problem for all the Western and Asian manufacturers, GM, Ford, VW, some of the Japanese manufacturers, Hyundai and the like. And what we're seeing is that after all these years of basically sharing the technology and know-how, a lot of the Chinese startups, the local manufacturers, are suddenly coming on strong. In fact, one of the things that's worried manufacturers is that the Chinese industry is now spreading to the rest of the world. And we saw President Biden increase tariffs on Chinese-made EVs fourfold to about 100%. Europe just announced that they're increasing tariffs on Chinese automobiles to 45%. And the Chinese are going to look for a way around that by looking to expand production around the world. They already have production through the Polestar and Volvo brands here in the U.S. BYD is looking to build in Mexico. 9 brands are looking to build in Europe. So China's getting to be a tough competitor with their domestic brands, and it's really tough for GM and the rest of the world to compete in the Chinese home market.
So Paul, what does the company need to do in order to maintain this positive change?
They really have to make sure that they hold down costs, that they continue to turn out products that people want. The good news is in the EV sector, they seem to be hitting very well with products like the new Equinox and the Blazer. And they have a bunch of other products that they're doing very well with. We're also seeing GM get rid of some of the products that really aren't selling. They're virtually out of the passenger car segment. As you know, they're getting ready to stop production of the Chevrolet Malibu. Basically going forward, GM is going to be an SUV and pickup manufacturer with only a couple exceptions, some Cadillac products, and of course, have to have the Chevrolet Corvette.
Yeah, seems like what people want more these days. It's what you see out on the roads already. All right, Paul
Exactly.
Eisenstein from Headlight.News. Thank you very much.